Hello, Hugh Grant fans, and welcome to Hugh's News, a Taking Hugh for Granted bonus podcast. Hugh's News aims to keep you right up to date with everything Hugh Grant. From an announcement he's signed on to a new project, right down to him doing a particularly saucy tweet. If it's big Hugh Grant news, we want you to know about it. The big news today is rumours hot off the press that Hugh Grant will be in 2023's Wonka film, following the young life of famous Candyman Willy Wonka. I'm Diggory, and to discuss this with me, I'm joined by my fellow Horse and Hound correspondent, Oscar Beardmore-Gray. Oscar, how the bloody hell are you doing today, mate?
I'm doing good, Diggs. I mean, Hugh Grant may be starring in a Willy Wonka film.
Yes. It's so confusing, this whole thing, that it's crazy. Because usually when we talk about this, we've talked before about him being in Ruse de Guerre, in Dungeons & Dragons, films that are upcoming. But this one, we're not even sure. A couple of people saw him in Oxford, like where they're filming this, and Timothée Chalamet was there, who's going to be Wonka, and people have just put two and two together, and that's the big report at the moment.
Well, look, Diggs, I think these are more than just rumours. Like, when we have photographic evidence of Timothée Chalamet in Oxford with Hugh Grant at, I think it's Hertford College, Oxford, and it makes sense for a number of reasons. Firstly, the film Wonka, which is coming out sometime next year, is being directed by Paul King,
yes,
who also directed Paddington 2 and Paddington. And there's also other people starring in the movie, including Sally Hawkins, who people might remember being Mrs. Brown in Paddington. So it would suggest that the director likes to go back to similar characters that he's had in previous successes. And Paul King certainly had a lot of success with Paddington and Paddington 2. So it would not be a surprise that this particular rumour comes true.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What is funny as well about that is that a lot of the people who are reporting this are using the video evidence we've seen of Hugh and Timothy at the same time. This video evidence coming from TikTok. People heard that Timothée Chalamet was in Oxford, and so they came in their droves. And so take a listen to this. This is the people when they hear Timothée Chalamet coming out. They are absolutely loving it. But by contrast, let's have a listen to what they say when Hugh Grant comes out. Bear in mind, Timothée Chalamet came out, you could probably tell he was with his hair, but he was like flanked by loads of people. He had this big mask on. Hugh Grant, flanked by no one, coming out, looking around a bit nervously, like just on his own, no mask. Have a listen to this.
It's Hugh Grant. Hi, Hugh. Hi, Hugh. Hi.
It's just a couple of people like, hi, Hugh. And he goes, hello, hello, hello. So amazing.
I love that. I mean, Timothée Chalamet, he is the Hugh Grant of the modern era.
Well, that's what a lot of people have been saying. Young heartthrob, great actor.
Maybe Hugh can teach him it. Teach the new kid on the block a few old tricks.
Absolutely. Well, it's very interesting because so many young actors like Nicholas Hoult still apparently loves Hugh Grant. I can't remember who I was talking to the other day, but someone who actually knows Nicholas Hoult and said Nicholas genuinely looks up to him really, really hard. Charlie Hunnam. I saw him talking about Hugh Grant the other day in an interview, and he was like, the guy is amazing. Hugh Grant is a serious actor, and I learned more in the 3 days with him than I have with most actors. And it's like incredible. Wow. So you're right. I think there's a lot for Timothy to learn.
I mean, maybe we should chat about the role that Hugh is rumoured to play, which is incredible.
It's amazing. I don't understand it at all. What roles he due to play, Oscar?
He is due to play an Oompa Loompa.
Yes.
I mean, I think most people, if they know anything about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Roald Dahl, you know, it's a bit of a cultural thing, isn't it, in the mind? Like an Oompa Loompa is that big orange thing.
Well, small orange thing. They're quite small, aren't they?
Small orange thing.
Yeah.
And it has been subject of quite a lot of controversy.
Indeed.
And, you know, it's actually quite interesting, the conversations around this film, because I think there's been, like I said, controversy about the fact that Oompa Loompas aren't really like politically correct in our modern society. Was that correct, or am I getting that wrong?
All I saw was that there was a conversation about in the film where they were like, should we do Oompa Loompas because they could be insensitive to small people, it could, upset them or whatever. But having said that, what you can read from IMDb is the story will focus specifically on a young Willy Wonka, obviously played by Timothée Chalamet, and how he met the Oompa Loompas on one of his earliest adventures. And obviously, if this is true, Hugh Grant is being cast as an Oompa Loompa. So they've decided to go with it, which I think is, I do think is the right way to go. Whether or not Hugh Grant will be, Hobbit style, made to look smaller and, like through camera angles or in post, we'll have to see. But I obviously, I don't know. Was there a reason why the Oompa Loompas were small? What is an Oompa Loompa? Like, what is it?
You're asking the wrong person, Diggs. All I can remember is watching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which there was a film that came out with Johnny Depp playing Willy Wonka.
Yes,
what was it, 2005 or something like that? And the Oompa Loompas are kind of like are they the people who work in the chocolate factory?
Yeah,
and like, they're like kind of the workforce. But I think there's some allegations of Roald Dahl's sort of portrayal of the Oompa Loompas as being kind of racist because they were deemed to have come from like the depths of the jungle or something. That's something I read about.
Oh yeah.
So I think not only is it like potentially discriminatory towards small people, but also that they've sort of been othered by coming from like
a far off land,
exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that Hugh Grant will bring his own comic genius to this role.
Absolutely.
I'm just looking forward to seeing him in sort of orange makeup, to be honest.
Yes, with those white eyebrows and green hair. It's just such a distinctive look. I have to say, I didn't click on it because it was the Sun newspaper. For international listeners, they might not understand. The Sun newspaper is roundly hated in this country. But what I did see as their like thumbnail was this amazing doctored picture of Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa. And we'll put it up on our Instagram. It is absolutely hilarious because it's spot on. I mean, it just looks spot on. It looks great.
I just think that Hugh is just going for more out there characters by like each film he does. Like, what I'm imagining is something similar in theme and comic style to that final scene in Paddington 2 where he's singing the song in his prison pajamas. Like, I'm just thinking that and times that by 10.
Exactly. I was thinking, because when I think of Willy Wonka, I think of, as we said, Oompa Loompa, but I also think of singing and dancing. And so when I thought that Hugh Grant's being Oompa Loompa, I was like, well, right, he's going to whip out the whole vibe he did at the end of Paddington 2 with the dancing and stuff. I mean, if there's more singing and dancing from Hugh Grant, you can kill me now and send me straight to heaven because I'm basically already there. Do you know what I mean? That's class. Yeah.
It's actually fascinating. It's going to be...
It's so interesting.
And we should talk a little bit more about this film Wonka. Like, this is a big deal of a film. For people who don't know, it's going to be a prequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and kind of like you said before, Diggs, like young Willy Wonka. But it's got some big names in it. I mean, it could see Hugh Grant reunited with Rowan Atkinson. Olivia Colman is going to be a supporting actress.
Yeah.
Jim Carter, Sally Hawkins, as I mentioned before, who played Mrs. Brown. So there's some very recognizable names in here, and I'm just excited that he's going to be part of this project.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as we say, they still haven't announced it, and the cast list is long, and there's loads of people in it, and so it makes me wonder how big his role will be. Do you know what I mean? I'm slightly worried that maybe it'll be a bit part. I mean, there's obviously the joke to be made that it might be his smallest role yet. But there's part of me that thinks maybe he's just going to be in for a day or two of filming. But when the thing says, the very short synopsis we have, or whatever we have right now, says it's all about a young Willy Wonka and how he met the Oompa Loompas, you sort of think, well, actually, maybe he might have a big role.
Yeah, I mean, are we imagining a sort of, what do you call a collective noun of Oompa Loompas? But, are we imagining, Matt Lucas Hugh Grant and Olivia Colman as the three Oompa Loompas. I mean, that would just be unbelievable.
That'd be huge. Unfortunately, I think that I've seen a few pictures actually of some of the cast. So Matt Lucas does not look like an Oompa Loompa. He is not.
Right.
He's not orange. I'm not sure, but again, not sure who he is. And also, what's really interesting about this is it's going to be part of a cinematic universe. It feels like everyone's doing this now. Marvel started it, DC have followed, and now I guess Roald Dahl is doing a cinematic universe. So it'll be interesting to see, because we've talked before about how we wanted Hugh Grant to maybe be part of some sort of franchise. He shies away from sequels and stuff, but it will be nice because we want Hugh Grant toys. We want Hugh Grant we want to see Hugh Grant films every year that we can come back and be like, right, we know he's the Oompa Loompa in the Wonka universe. We will see him popping up and stuff. Like, that'd be great. That's what we want.
We want the box set.
Exactly. Yeah. I want all the Hugh Grant merch I can get. Do you know what I want? Is a little life-sized Oompa Loompa Hugh Grant toy that I could have in my house. Or I could have on my bed. That'd be so cute.
Diggs, when you have a baby, I'll buy your baby a Hugh Grant and Oompa Loompa as his first toy, and then it will literally just like live there in your house forever.
That'd be incredible. I'd love that. The problem is, I'd love the Oompa Loompa toy more than my baby, which could be awkward. But there you go. I wonder, is there anything more you want to say on this? I mean, obviously, it's all speculation at the moment, but
it's all speculation, but it's just nice to see that Hugh Grant's name's out there, and we, we'll do our best to stay on top of this story and bring updates when they come. But it's just, I think, more proof that Hugh has got such a diverse and big network in the cinema world. He's got Paul King, this guy on speed dial. He's just been like, Hugh, we need an Oompa Loompa. Come down here for a couple of days. Yeah, and there he is, and it's just exciting stuff, isn't it?
It's great. It's so true, actually, and again, it once again shows Hugh Grant's just having a great time at the moment. He's picking up roles that seem like great fun that he has a good time doing. I mean, as we know, Hugh Grant never has a good time doing any of it. He hates the whole process, but we enjoy it. So the more crazy stuff he does like this, the better, in my opinion. Wow, how exciting. What I will say on that as well is we'll release this episode, but if anything does change and it is confirmed, we will treat this as that episode and we will change the show notes. So if you're like, I wonder if it has happened, just check the show notes right now and see, when you're listening, and see, is it confirmed yet? Is it absolutely certain? Because right now it's still just we're just adding to the rumour mill. And let me tell you, it's milling.
Yes.
It certainly is.
This will be on the top search results.
yeah, exactly. Every day I'll be checking, refreshing. Like, has it been announced yet? Is it true? Wonderful. Well, guys, follow along. Make sure you're following us when you listen to this podcast. Make sure you're following us on all the socials. Also, obviously, check us out on Instagram at Taking Hugh for Granted, because that's where we're going to post this cute little Hugh Grant pic as an Oompa Loompa if you haven't already seen it. But otherwise, stay tuned and we'll keep you up to date with everything Hugh Grant and more Hugh Grant reviews for you to digest. See you later.
Bye.
This is the end of Hughes News. We hope you feel very Hughes News about Hugh Grant. Hughes News. And everything is very Hughes News. And now it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Hughes News is a Taking Hugh for Granted production and is produced, edited and presented by Diggory Waite and Oscar Beardmore Gray. The producers of Taking Hugh for Granted would like to state that this podcast is in no way associated with the actor Hugh John Mungo Grant, nor does it endorse his views or represent him in any way. Instead, by creating this podcast, Oscar and Diggory hope to celebrate Hugh's illustrious career, reliving his old classics and shedding light on some of his hidden gems. Hugh, if you're listening, we hope you approve.